Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And today, the San Francisco 49ers somehow, some way get it done against the Atlanta Falcons. And man, oh man, did that run game look like the old school 49er run game. Christian McCaffrey, 100+ yards on the ground and 2 tutties. Is this run game back to what we expect it to be?
Hey everyone, it's Dwayne Boyd, 4-time Super Bowl winner. And watching the Atlanta Falcons play today, the quarterback was very uncomfortable in the pocket. He moved around quite a bit, and he wasn't effective. He had a 83.3 quarterback rating, but the thing that was noticeable about he was on the move a lot, but he couldn't get his feet set to get his throws down the field, and that was really key to the game today. They affected the quarterback, but they didn't sack him as much as they would like, but they made him move around more than he was comfortable with.
I'm Eric Crocker, Arena Bowl champion with the San Jose SaberCats. Let's go. And I'm here to talk about Chase Lucas and how a defensive back who was on the practice squad the year before is creating his next opportunity by playing well for the 49ers today.
Shout out the SaberCats. Hear that SaberCat roar, man. And Locked On 49ers Squad Show starts right now.
To all the faithful, it's the 49ers Squad. Everything San Francisco 49ers every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from Levi's Stadium. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. For those faithful to the Bay, the 49ers Squad Show starts now.
Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in today on this episode of the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Shout out all our everydayers tuning in on the Locked On 49ers YouTube channel or listening on the Locked On 49ers podcast feed. Make sure you are subscribed. However you're tuning in, we appreciate it. And today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. And in today's game, let's just start with where we kind of started our off-air conversation. Picking against the 49ers seems to work out pretty well. You know, like whenever we say this team is going to lose a football game, I mean, going into this, you were thinking there's no way the 49ers are going to beat the Falcons, especially after what you saw from them against the Buffalo Bills on Monday night. And the 49ers steamrolled them. I mean, the Falcons did have they were in this game, including late in this one, but it felt to me like the 49ers controlled this one. Like from start to finish, it felt like this was the 49ers doing what the 49ers do, which is run the ball, control the clock, stop you on defense, and nothing easy. Nothing easy to make a Golden State Warriors reference. Shout out Zaza Pachulia. Nothing easy, but you know the Niners today. What impressed me the most, and where I want to start today's show, is the rushing attack. Christian McCaffrey, $129 on the ground, a 5.4 yard per carry average, 2 touchdowns after they weren't even able to get one for the first 148 rushing attempts in the season, and now you get 2 in one game for McCaffrey. As a team, 174 rush yards, 4.5 yards per carry. At one point in the first half, Christian McCaffrey and Brian Robinson Jr. were both just unstoppable. Felt like they were getting, 7-8 yard chunks every time they touched the ball. And I'm shocked. I'm really kind of shocked that the 49ers were able to turn this around so fast. And I guess let's start there. Dwayne, how did the 49ers manage to turn this run game around in like a week from what we've seen all season long to this, where it is today?
It's hard to say right now because when you watch the game, it's just pretty much the same offensive line. The only difference in the whole offense this week was George Kittle was back. Did George Kittle make that big of a difference? I think so.
Yeah.
In the run game, he did. In the passing game, he had 2 targets with no catches. And I'm pretty sure he's probably pissed about that. But if you look at what he did in the run game, he created some havoc up front. And most of the runs came where? Outside. Yeah. And Brian Robinson, I mean, he was in on some runs in the first half of the game too that got the whole thing rolling. And you go back and you look at the quarterback too. Our guy only threw for 150 yards. Okay, that's total yards. Great quarterbacks do that in the first quarter. He did it in 4 quarters. So it was the run game, and we talked about it all the time. Kyle Shanahan, if his offense doesn't have a run game, he don't stand a chance. And today it showed. The run game worked, and it got a win for them. And what can you say about that, Eric?
Yeah, Crocky, what did you think about this 49ers offensive line? I mean, not only were they able to obviously run the ball well, but it seemed like it was coming much easier to this team today, like bigger run lanes for Christian McCaffrey to operate. And it seemed like one thing that I noticed, and maybe I'm off here, but it seemed to me like Kyle Shanahan kind of went away from that zone run scheme that he likes to run so much. And he just said, we're going mano-a-mano. Win your one-on-one matchup, and we're just going to run the ball right down your throat. And that's what it looked like to me out there, man.
No, it was fun watching this, and I think as a current head coach, coaching at the high school football level myself, when it's hitting and you're executing at a high level, there's nothing better than that. Early on, Kyle Shanahan was starting drives or starting first downs, throwing the ball, and at some point he said, you know what, let's just do away with throwing the ball on early downs. We want to run the rock because we're running so well, and that continued. I think it even kind of surprised him a little bit. He's like, well, wait a minute. There's run room. Oh man, they're hitting. Okay, we're pulling and they're getting to their guys. And I watched one clip. I had to record it, and I'm going to be sending it to my football players. But it was Jawan Jennings crashing down, and then the puller came around. He got to his guy. Then another guy came and got to his guy at the next level. And when you see that and you see the success that the run game was having, you couldn't help but just really enjoy that. It was beautiful. So I think it was just the execution that the 49ers had. I know a lot of people want to pick George Kittle because the 49ers just, when he's on the field, they run the ball better. Like, that is a fact for whatever reason. And that was the case tonight as well. Christian McCaffrey did an awesome job. He saw the holes. He was hitting it. I think he really ran very effectively. I have a lot of people trolling me on social media. Croc, you said he lost some juice. Didn't look like that tonight. And it's like, he didn't lose vision. That's for sure. The vision was there. The jump cuts were there. And I thought he definitely executed at a very high level. So all around, man, the run game, just tremendous. And at some point in the first half, I want to say maybe even going into halftime, both Chris McCaffrey and Robinson were averaging 7 yards a carry. 49ers, they just dominated that front.
Yeah, and one thing that also impressed me about the way the 49ers were able to dominate, like they looked good running the ball outside, and I think we kind of expected that. Like, if there was one thing you thought this 49ers offense was going to do better in this game than they had done in their prior games this season, you probably felt that they were going to run the ball outside a little bit better, like running off the tackle, especially with George Kittle coming back. I think everyone kind of collectively felt like there would be a little bit more room to operate there, but I was pretty impressed with the way they were able to run up the middle in the A gap, like between the guards and the center. And when you got Dom Pooney running around here on one leg, and you got Colby, who's still trying to figure out how to play at the NFL level at left guard, and a rookie late round draft pick who they did not expect to be starting games this early in his career. And then you have Jake Brendel go down in this one. And while Brendel has not been very good this season, he hasn't been setting the world on fire for sure at that center position. You get Matt Hennessy coming in, and I mean, the former Falcon, I'm sure, was excited for the opportunity against his old squad. But I mean, I did not have a lot of faith that the 49ers were going to, with this group, go out there and be able to run the ball up the middle as well as they did. And it seemed like every play after play, they were getting push up front. McCaffrey wasn't having to dodge guys in the backfield. I saw a stat at some point in this game that this was the most yards per carry, or the most yards that Christian McCaffrey has had in a game so far this season before first contact. So meaning that he was actually able to find some room to run before he was having to shrug off that first defender. And I thought that was huge in this one, man. Matt Hennessy, I thought, played a big part of that too, because in on that second touchdown run, which I kind of want to get into a little bit with just the optics of it, especially when you had Dom Pooney and Connor Colby pulling Christian McCaffrey towards the end zone and walking backwards, and you have big old Matt Hennessy, 61, coming in underneath and pushing the pile. That was so impressive to me, man, because it was those three guys who made that happen. And it looked like a play that after the handoff, Christian McCaffrey hit the pile, and it seemed like it was going to be another one of those 49ers red zone trips that we've seen a lot this year, which is when there's, when the field gets short and there's not a lot of room to operate, that the run game kind of just runs into the back of that O-line and falls down, and there's not much left there. But he hit that pile and then kept pushing through. And that wasn't just Christian McCaffrey in the strong lower half, but it was the interior of that offensive line really pushing and pulling on that play to get him into the end zone, man. And that was pretty funny for me to see that big Connor Colby dragging him backwards, walking. Dwayne, have you seen something like that before? A guy, pulling him backwards into the end zone?
Yeah, I've seen it, but you know what? It should have been a flag thrown on that play because it's illegal for an offensive lineman to help a running back.
It is.
Okay,
it
and what
is.
he
But
did
then why is
was
the push
it
push
was
to play?
totally.
Why
Pardon?
is the push
Well,
push to
the
play?
push
If you can't do that-
it comes from behind. You can't grab a guy from the front and drag him across the line. He should have just spiked him. He pulled him across the line. He should have just picked him up and spiked him with the ball at the end. But it should have been a penalty, and they should have moved the ball back. But the 49ers, they called a break there. And
I would say, oh, my bad. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, like, running the ball, and when you talk about offensive alignment, like, it's a mindset. And you don't want to see, you don't want to get a flag for carrying players into the end zone. But for me, it's just a mindset that everybody was on the same page. We're going to do whatever we have to do at all costs for this run game to get going and head into this game. Clearly, the 49ers O-line had the right mindset. We are going to get things going on the ground. So carrying guys into the end zone, opening holes for guys to get into the end zone, whatever they had to do, I was all for whatever that mindset was by the team.
Well, you know what? It's about time them getting some mindset because it's just some games that was earlier in the season. They didn't have the mindset. And this game right here, maybe it was because of one guy again. The George Kittle must have gave the pregame speech about what they were going to do. We're going to come out and will our running game on the Atlanta Falcons defensive line or front seven. And that's what they did. They willed that running game. And when that happens, it's a good sign for the team. The team is coming together. And all these guys are what? Look at them. They're a bunch of no names.
Yeah.
Yeah. None of those guys, nobody would put that picture on that refrigerator. I wouldn't, because I wouldn't even want them on my refrigerator because I don't know who they are. You want to put guys on your refrigerator that has something to them. So a mean streak. And to me, just looking at the 49 offensive line up until now, they didn't have a mean guy in the whole group. Would you take any of those guys to a UFC fight? Just tell me, who would you want to put in the ring?
Fred Warner, probably, but he's not out there today.
Yeah, with Fred and George Kittle, that's it. I
maybe
wouldn't
George,
call nobody up.
We've seen George in the WWE ring before, but I think he could maybe translate to some real, actual contact in the ring.
For real, yeah.
But I mean, I saw the same thing you did, Dwayne, man. Like there was aggressiveness, there was a plan, there was a mindset, a mentality of how this team was going to go out there and attack the Atlanta Falcons. And it didn't have a whole lot to do with Mac 10 in that passing game, man. I mean, Mac Jones, 17 of 26, 152 pass yards, 5.8 yards per pass, and the one interception, which should just be automatically attributed to Juwan Jennings. That was I thought a pretty bad play by Juwan Jennings for a guy who's been making as much noise as he has this year about wanting that 300 or the 30 million average annual value on his contract. You can't be going out there and dropping passes that hit you right in the hands and handing them to defenders. But he didn't have the worst day, but I mean, nobody on this 49ers pass catching, nobody on this roster had a great day catching the ball outside of Christian McCaffrey, who had 7 receptions, 72 yards, 10.3 per catch, and on 8 targets. And so over 200 total yards for Christian McCaffrey in this game. He was the whole reason that this offense worked at all. And it was so good to see this offense get back to that, because that is their bread and butter. That's where they're at their best. When the San Francisco Giants, I almost said the San Francisco 49ers are good, it is when this run game gets going. It's when Christian McCaffrey looks explosive and is able to hit his cuts, and he looked shifty out there. He did look a little bit more, a little more bursty today than he has. What did you guys think? The same thing? Did you think McCaffrey looked a little bit more explosive today? And is that just because of the offensive line?
No, I think he did because a couple of times I saw him. He had a little bit of natural shake to him. He made a few tacklers miss him completely, and maybe he's getting back healthy because we talked about him getting back into the groove, and it's taken a little bit of time. And what is this? It's 7 weeks into the season, and he's really getting. I think he's getting back into the groove right now, and hopefully he'll just keep going from now on.
Yeah.
I know for me, been watching him, again, I did know, like, I think he might have lost a little bit of juice, not quite seeing some of the same kind of bursts you're used to seeing. There have been games where I saw him in the open field and just CMC before would have either scored on this or it would have been a much bigger game. And last week, watched him in the open field catch a ball. I think he lost a little bit of juice. But you watch him today, and again, I talked about some of the jump cuts. That's showing a little bit of explosiveness there. Dwayne mentioned him catching the ball out into the flat, right? Making guys miss and then accelerating out there. Watching him accelerate through some of the holes that were given to him, I thought he did a terrific job. So saying that he had a little bit more juice today, definitely, I would agree. Now, again, is it the same as what we've seen in years past? And I think those big explosive runs, the big explosive plays through the air, watching him run down the sideline, we haven't quite seen that, but it definitely was better than anything we've seen so far to this point in the season.
Yeah, and his longest run today was 15 yards. His longest reception was 17 yards. So again, to that point, he's not breaking off that 20 plus, 30 plus, just game-breaking type play. It's more just it seemed like he was just in rhythm today, like just time after time after time. He was just getting his yards. There weren't very many negative plays, and it felt like he was getting an extra 2 to 3 yards at the end of every run, finishing those runs. And again, I thought that the offensive line really helped out by having those extra bodies just pile in to that. When everyone was piling on top of McCaffrey, the offensive line would just run up behind him and push that pile an extra yard or two forward, and that it shows up. It shows up in the box score with the yard per carry average, and it shows up on the scoreboard with the 49ers getting into the end zone twice on in this one today, where red zone was kind of hard to get into for the 49ers. And I thought that them actually getting those 2 touchdowns was huge. There was another opportunity they had where they settled for a field goal, but I thought that the red zone, getting into the red zone, and they were 2 for 2 in their red zone opportunities. They were just outside of the red zone on that field goal opportunity. But ultimately, I thought that was great execution by the 49ers in the red area. And ultimately, that I think kind of made the difference in this one, because the 49ers defense was able to keep the Atlanta Falcons out of that red area and hold them to just one of their one touchdown in their 2 opportunities. So the 49ers did a great job. Obviously, we don't even have to mention it. Eddie Pinheiro makes both of his field goal opportunities, and it's just so nice to not have to worry about if the kicker is actually going to make his kicks or not. So shout out Eddie Pinheiro. But the one of the things that really impressed me with this 49ers defense, and I think outside of Christian McCaffrey, the guy who impacted this game the most, Tatum Bethune. And we got to talk about him and the rest of the 49ers defense on the other side. The Tatum Bethune legacy game, that's what's coming up next here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work better, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and simply don't work together. That's not SaaS, that's not SaaS, that's SAD. SAAD, software is a software as a disservice. And that's why you need Rippling. Rippling is the unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, and finance all in one place. They've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, and control. And by utilizing your employees, teams, and departments in one system, Rippling removes the bottlenecks, busy work, and silos your software that you've created. Everything from onboarding to payroll to IT access runs automatically and perfectly in sync. It's seriously simple to use and gives companies one source for truth for their people, data, and everything they touch. And right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/lockedonnfl. Learn more at rippling.com/lockedonnfl. That's rippling.com/lockedonnfl for 6 months free. Terms and conditions apply. And today's show is also brought to you by PrizePicks. Every day we make decisions, but on PrizePicks, being right can actually get you paid. Don't miss the excitement of this football season with PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. Playing PrizePicks is such a fun, simple way to add more excitement to football. Just pick more or less on player projections like Josh Allen's passing yards or Saquon Barkley's rushing yards or rushing for a touchdown, and you're in the game. And I'm hoping that tonight you got in on Christian McCaffrey over more than half a rushing touchdown, and in basically anything else that you wanted to pair an Atlanta Falcon with, and a less than. I thought a good move for today would have been a Drake London less than 40 or less than I think the line was right around 50 yards receiving, and he did not pass that 50-yard mark. So that would have been a win for you if you went with Christian McCaffrey and Drake London on PrizePicks today. And you'll have a lot of opportunities next week and going forward to get in on some money with PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by two champions, Blaine Board, four-time Super Bowl champion with the San Francisco 49ers, and Eric Crocker, champion with the San Jose SaberCats, and currently killing it out there as a high school football coach. He's having all sorts of success this year with his boys out there. So, but the 49ers having all sorts of success of their own today on the defensive side of the ball, and man, I am hyped watching Tatum Bethune go around and run out there like a man with his hair on fire. He led the team in tackles, filling in for Fred Warner. By the way, did you guys see in the game when they showed Fred Warner on the Jumbotron and he started getting the crowd going? Like I had a hard time hearing the broadcast because the crowd got so loud at a certain point. And I mean, it just shows you how much of an impact Fred Warner has on this team, on this fan base. And what a big loss that is for them to not have that guy out there still being a leader by showing up and being there for his guys. And Tatum Bethune shows up today in pregame. Sunday Night Football made sure to show this on the pregame. Shows up to the stadium wearing a white Fred Warner 48 from when he first broke into the league. Remember, Warner used to wear number 48 before he switched to 54. And Tatum Bethune went in there and told everybody, hey, Fred was once just like all of us, a young guy trying to make a name for himself on a roster, and he went out there and made plays. And now Tatum Bethune, wearing that same number 48 out there on the field, goes out there and looked very Fred Warner-esque today, in any way that a backup could. Obviously, Fred is one of a kind, but Tatum Bethune did a lot of things that Fred Warner does out there and did a great job wearing that green dot, the communication. He had a TFL in this one. Would have had a sack if it didn't get called off for a Diamador Lenore illegal contact, which I thought was a little yeah, you're at the top of the route, hand fighting. Drake London gave him a little shove with the left arm, too. I mean, come on, let the guys play. But, man, Tatum Bethune showing out today, man. I mean, is this the next, Azeez Al-Shaair or the next the Navarro Bowman, or is this just is this just what Bob Saleh does? Is this just what Robert Saleh is doing and just turning out linebacker prodigies after linebacker prodigies? Dwayne, you coached you did the same thing that Robert Saleh is doing in the NFL. How's this guy keep unlocking all these different linebackers and getting them to play like this?
Well, I think the thing that he does well is he can communicate to a linebacker because he was a linebacker himself, okay? And when you got a coach who played the game and know the game, you can transcend that into the player. And he does a great job of that. And you look at the linebackers he had in the past, and he's done a great job with those guys. And right now, he's got the two young linebackers that don't have that much game, with winners that don't have that much game experience in what they're doing. They're out there making plays. And down the line, all he's going to do is get better. I think he's going to get a lot better. And he has also in his corner, he's got one of the best linebackers in the 49er history. Fred Warner somewhere is probably teaching him the little ins and outs of the game. And right now, it's a road that he can only follow. And just believe in the guy that you backed up. And that's the next thing that we're going to talk about. Next guy up. Every time somebody goes down, next guy up. And right now, the 49ers is doing it with a lot of next guys. Don't you agree?
Oh yeah, I mean it's both sides of the ball. It's almost every position group had, like, you look at the defense, for instance. You don't have Nick Bosa. It's the next man up. You see Huff go in there and get a strip sack. You see Bethune at the linebacker level. You see Chase Lucas at the in the secondary making a big play today, and with Upton Stout missing this one, and the 49ers lacking their nickel. It was very impressive, and that's just the defensive side of the ball. We know they're you don't have your quarterback, you don't have half your offensive line. It's next man up all the way across the board,
and it's showing. And they're using it to win games right now, and hopefully they'll keep on down the road, because when they get those other healthy guys back, all it's going to do is make the team a lot better. It's going to make guys believe in those guys who they never believed in before. Those next guys, the guys that's that's really under the bench. When they come off the field, they just go to the bench and sit under the bench because the main guy is going to have the main seat. But right now, it's looking good for them, and hopefully they don't have no more injuries, because it's looking thin for next guy. Eric, you ready? You ready to go to play corner?
I know. Yeah, no, the 49ers are extremely thin, really. I mean, with all the injuries, but they're figuring out a way to get through it. And when we think of guys like Tatum Bethune and kind of what he's doing, stepping into this role and this opportunity, for me, although I know the 49ers are 5-2 right now, which is wild to say with the injuries that they've had, but I feel like a lot of the experience that these young guys are gaining is for the future. So, it's clearly helping the 49ers right now. And I'm curious to see what these guys look like come, week 12, week 15, week 18, and so on and so forth. But, man, it's hard not to skip to next season and see, like, getting a year's worth of experience because all these guys were hurt. How much does that help just the 49ers move forward? How much does that help Robert Saleh? And I think we've seen it, right? I mean, go back just to last week against Tampa Bay. There were a lot of holes and voids in the defense. You didn't quite get the pass rush. You had some missed assignments. You had some missed tackles. You had all these things where you can look back on and be like, man, look what this happened. And I felt like the 49ers took a lot of that experience, the negatives and the positives, and channeled that into a terrific performance against the Atlanta Falcons. And the cool thing is about the NFL, hey, man, that game is over and done with, and now you're going to have to do it again next week. I think we're traveling to Houston, I believe, and that's going to be another challenge. But these young guys gaining this experience week in and week out, I think it's huge for the 49ers.
But, go ahead. Go ahead, you're going to travel down in Houston now. That's a snake pit because Houston hasn't won. Have they won a game? Those young guys got to look at it like, hey, we're going into a situation where – hey, we can't go in there sleeping on these guys now just because we beat the Atlanta Falcons. All right, we got to go in there again and show what we can do. Are we going to be the team we were against the Falcons, or are we going to go in there and be the Falcons of old or the Jacksonville Jaguars of old? The old teams that come out.
So the Houston Texans, they lost their first 3 games. Now they've won back-to-back games. And one of the teams that they've beaten, which the team that's kind of faltering right now, is the Baltimore Ravens. They hammered them 44-10. We do get a chance to see them tomorrow night, Monday night, against the Seattle Seahawks. So that's going to be kind of a huge measuring stick on where exactly Houston is. Will they be on the 3-game winning streak and then have the 49ers at their house? That definitely will be a big one.
Okay, now we're going into another situation, too, just like last week. Atlanta coming off what? Monday night game, short week. Houston, they flew all the way to the Pacific Northwest, Monday night game, and now they're going back home, short week. What do the 49ers have? I hate to say it, but it could be an advantage to the 49ers because, again, it's a short week for preparation.
Yeah, and currently the very, very early line on this game is the Texans favored by 1.5. So the 49ers getting 1.5 points on the road in Houston. And, they do have a pretty solid team down there in Houston. I think CJ Stroud is still a guy who you got to consider. He could go out and torch a defense any given day of the week. He has not looked as sharp this year as he, at least in the beginning of the season, as he did last year. But he has been kind of rounding into form. He's still got Nico Collins out there catching passes. So the 49ers are going to have a challenge against that Houston Texans team, no doubt. But this 49ers team also looking pretty good right now. I know that they don't have a 3-game winning streak to tout, but you're sitting here at 5-2. You're tied for first place in the NFC West with the Rams, and you're looking pretty good because you're doing this all without your starting quarterback, without half of your offensive line, without your best defensive player, without your second best defensive player, however you want to rank Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Those are 1 and 2 on your defensive side of the ball. I mean, and obviously you're missing just a smorgasbord of wide receivers as well. And it's been as we've been discussing right now, it's been by committee, by next man up. And this 49ers team, to me, that's been the absolute, hands down, the most impressive part about the start of this season is this team is 5-2. And it feels like every week when we're talking about this team, there's a little bit of this doom and gloom feeling where it's like, oh no, we're like just kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. And it's not dropping. The 49ers keep winning games. They're 2-1 at home. They've only lost 1 game away from Levi's as well, and that was at Tampa last week. And so the 49ers are going to their schedule is going to, after this Texans game especially, start to loosen up a little bit. You get teams like the Panthers, who actually look a lot better than I think a lot of people thought they would this year, and the Browns as well. And you get a lot of other opponents that the 49ers should beat. It is the NFL, and any team can win any given Sunday and all that jazz. But it's hard not to look ahead at this 49ers schedule and say, if they've been able to do it so far, why can't they keep doing this? And so that's kind of the question that I got for you, Crocky. If the 49ers have been able to do this so far, what's stopping them from continuing to keep piling on the wins and maybe win the NFC West? I don't know. Like that call me crazy, but it seems like it's on the table, man.
It is a very odd situation. I mean, the 49ers are not supposed to be winning these games. And we talked about this. The amount of injuries that they've had piling up. Hell, I mean, you've played several games now without your starting quarterback, and you won 4 of them. Like, that's kind of unprecedented. You typically don't see that. So it's odd for me. I've kind of gone into these games with no expectations because how are they winning these games with so many of their big guys out? No run game, defensive guys young, trying to figure it out, and somehow the thing that continues to get figured out is the 49ers finding a way to win games. 5-2 at this point in the season with those injuries, that is wild.
Yeah, absolutely wild. I don't think anybody would have assumed they're 1 win away from matching their win total from last year. And they've almost been more injured this year than last year. It's like the same thing, right? Like all these same key players got hurt last year that are getting hurt this year. And
this is worse.
I think this is worse. You also have quarterback and Brock Purdy.
5 games without your starting quarterback. You played every game without Brandon Ayuk. Last year, I mean, at least there was like a Debo Samuel or something. You don't have him.
You don't have Ricky.
Rick Pearsall has probably missed the same amount of time. George Kittle played most of last season. You don't have him. No Fred Warner. No Nick Bosa. I mean, this is way worse. And yet the 49ers are figuring out a way to get wins. I think one of the plays that went a little under the radar, and I just think of, how you win and ways you have to go about it, and some of the plays that maybe fly under the radar, but that 3rd down and 13 completion to Christian McCaffrey, that was 49ers probably going to have to kick a field goal. But instead, not only do they pick up the 1st down, they end up getting a touchdown, but they also milked more time off the clock and made it a 2-possession game. Like, those kind of plays are the plays that were not being converted a year ago.
Yeah, Oh, go ahead. Going back to plays now. At the end of that first half, I thought Atlanta did a bad job of clock management. They had one timeout left in the game. Okay, so they throw the ball down the field 19 yards to who was it? London. He catches the ball, steps out of bounds. Okay, so then they got 27 seconds left. Okay, then they another pass, and they complete it. Okay. And then they call timeout. So why would he call timeout? Just run up and spike the freaking ball, okay? So they burnt the timeout, and then what happens the next play? The 49ers defense causes the quarterback to throw a ball that was thrown out of bounds, and they called intentional grounding. But they didn't have a timeout to use to save the 10 seconds on the clock because they burn it with a stupid play. And that was a big play, and that was a big change of the game. Who knows? They would have put points on the board at least, right?
I mean,
so there was a bad time. Huh?
We've seen Atlanta do this a few times this year. I mean, thinking back just to Monday night against the Bills. I mean, you had that Drake London catch, which almost went for a touchdown, but you were in field goal range, and you could have just gone down and called the timeout and kicked the field goal and got the short points, which is kind of what you got to do in that situation. But and we've seen them do that, and that's not the only time this season that Atlanta has shown, specifically in this same situation just before halftime, that they've had some clock issues, some time management stuff. And so maybe if we want to go all the way back to the Kyle Shanahan 28-3 kind of thing, maybe it's not a Kyle Shanahan clock thing. Maybe it's an Atlanta Falcons
thing.
Handle the clock situation. But going back to the 49ers and being able to just kind of continue this next man up philosophy, right? Like I want to pull that thread a little bit more because last year they were not able to do this, right? And you had a lot of these same guys on this team, not Mac Jones, obviously, but and maybe not Brian Robinson, who hasn't had to play in a starter capacity, but Tatum Bethune on last year's team got some run at certain points, probably more than he would have if Fred Warner didn't need to come out at times for that ankle, and if D Winters was able to actually pop last year. But you lose Drake Greenlaw, so guys like D Winters and Tatum Bethune played a lot more, and just in general, you had guys rotating in more and more and more. Malik Mustafa played a lot last year as well and played pretty well. Bernardo Green, who unfortunately went down with an injury, but I thought in today's game, has played really, really good football up to this point in the season. All these guys at certain points last year got some extended run because of those injuries. And it seems to me like that has really helped this team this year, right? Like because they had that experience last year, that trial by fire, which they did in a lot of ways fail that trial by fire, right? 6 wins is not a successful season for the San Francisco 49ers, but they took those losses and they learned from them. And this year, it seems like just how Dwayne, you were talking earlier in the show about how the 49ers implemented some things that they learned from last week into this week to help translate to that win. I think that this team collectively has taken a lot from last year and what they learned last year in this next man up type philosophy situation and applied it to this season. And I think that that's working for this team in a big way. And I think that's a big reason why you see guys like for instance, Darrell Luther Jr. tonight. I thought he was great. There was, especially on that one route where Bijan went out to wide left and they tried to hit him on the slant, and Luther just blew him up at the line of scrimmage, just completely decleated him right as the ball was coming in. It was within that first 5 yards, so totally legal. And it's perfect play. And you saw it looked little like he was a little Darrell Luther next to big old Bijan Robinson, and he's flexing on him, standing over him because he just knocked this guy flat on his butt. And it was great to see, man, like that type of mentality where like I'm in the NFL. I am an NFL caliber football player, and I'm ready to go toe to toe with anybody on that other team. I think that mentality starts to creep in because of this, because of the trial by fire they had last year. And I mean, you guys can speak to this better than I can. You both played at much higher levels of football than I have. But I mean, that's got to mean a lot, right? Like if you belong and you had that experience last year to show you, I know I can go toe to toe with anybody in this league and show what I can do. And not even having to be able to build up that confidence this year, but coming into this season, knowing I'm ready to go. I think that's a big deal. And maybe Dwayne, maybe you can speak to this a little bit more than I can, but I think that that's really been a big difference in this year's football team, just at a macro level compared to last year's.
Well, well, you're going back to last year, okay? You got Nick versus Solly, okay, as defensive coordinators, okay? And to me, Robert Solly has a better feel for his players than Nick did. And Robert knows the ability of each player. And I don't think he would put a player in a situation where the player couldn't handle. So with that, the player feels comfortable, okay? When the coach just stick you out there and say, hey, you play like so-and-so. You know, you don't have a Deion Sanders to line up. You can't put a guy in the man-to-man who you can't put a hat on his head, okay? And Solly knows that. And I don't think, just watching the games from last year, Nick didn't have a feel for that, okay? He didn't know when you had a receiver where you got a bracket, okay, where you got to give a guy some help. But Robert knows when you got to bracket a certain guy. And that's and that helps the player. That helps his confidence. He don't want to get thrown out there and get blamed for something that his ability can't handle. I wouldn't want to be put in a situation like that. And I'm sure, Croc, you can say that too. You know, if you got a receiver out there that, hey, I know that I can't handle. And I told you the story about Deion Sanders one time. We was down in 1994 playing the San Diego Chargers when he came over to the sidelines and he said, hey, Captain, I need a hat on my head. And I said, what do you mean, Deion, I need a hat on you? A hat. That means that Deion needs some help over the top, you know, because he couldn't handle, I forgot who the receiver was. The guy was fast as hell, you know, back in 94 for the Chargers. I can't remember his name now. And it was in December. It was hot. And he knew that, hey, he couldn't handle that guy. So the defensive coordinator have to help him. And that's what I think it is now. That Solly, he knows each player individual. He knows each player's ability, and he don't want to put them in a situation where they can't handle. And it makes a difference. It makes a difference. It gives you a world of confidence when you got somebody in your corner, rather than just throwing you out there and saying, hey, well, so-and-so couldn't handle him. No, it's your job to know the player and know what he can do and what he can't do.
Yeah, and so, one thing that really stood out to me in this game, and it was a really minor moment in tonight's win, but it was Shanahan, right? In almost those right before halftime, like coach going to the locker room interviews where the reporter asks usually one throwaway question. You usually don't get a whole lot from those interviews, right? But tonight I actually got something from that because Shanahan, all he had to say was positive things about his defense. I can't remember the last time that Kyle Shanahan got asked about his defense in an in-game interview and had positive things to say, right? Like all year last year and all year the year before, like going back even to Steve Wilkes, right? If he's getting asked about the defense, it's usually because they're getting torched. And that's not the case this year. And Shanahan, when he was answering the question, was smiling. And this is not a guy who smiles when he's talking to the media too much. And he's sitting there beaming, talking about his defense. And he basically was like, oh yeah, there's the guys are stepping up. They're playing great. And he didn't give like an X's and O's answer. He sounded like a fan talking about the team. And I don't want to devalue Shanahan as a head coach, but he's the kind of guy who doesn't want to have to worry about his defense. He doesn't want to have to worry about his special teams. He wants to get a guy in there like Robert Saleh that he has 130% trust in and can say, just do it. I don't want to do this. You handle this, and I will make the offense go, and I will take on the rest of the head coaching responsibilities, but I don't want to have to go over here and think about what the hell my defense is doing strategically. That's your job. And he seems like he's able to do that for once. Like probably the first time in the last couple seasons, right? Because he's had to be more involved with the defense with guys like Sorensen, with guys like Wilkes, and he just looks so happy to not have to be involved in all of that. And Shanahan, like I said, rarely looks happy during those interviews. I remember last week in week 6 when they did the halftime interview. He was literally jogging off the field, did not stop jogging. The reporter kept jogging with him, trying to answer or ask him questions. And so Shanahan, actually given some time to that pre-halftime interview, looking stoked about his defense, and it's hard not to when this 49ers defense is playing like this. And before we move on from this conversation about the 49ers defense, we got to get into Chase Lucas. Crockett, you brought him up at the beginning of this show. I thought he had a huge PBU in this one. Get into it, man. What'd you see from Chase Lucas? Give us the breakdown. What stood out to you today from the 49ers, fifth line cornerback that ended up being a big deal?
Playing in nickel position is one of the hardest positions in all of football. A lot of people talk about, obviously the quarterback position from a mental standpoint. They'll also talk about, offensive tackles and defensive ends and all that. And a lot of people will say, man, cornerback, hardest position to play in football, one of them for sure. The nickel position is even more difficult because you are everything. You are a cornerback, you are a coverage guy, you are a safety, you have to tackle, you are a linebacker, you have to run fit. Like, there's all the responsibilities that you have. And from a coverage standpoint, you're playing in so much space. So to have somebody kind of step into that role and play to the extent in which he has, that big run stop the 49ers had on fourth down against the Los Angeles Rams, Chase Lucas was involved in that. And he was yet involved in another huge play in this game. 4th and 1, they targeted him, and he nearly had a pick six. If I were his coach, I'd say, hey, terrific job breaking up the pass on 4th down, but we can't drop the money. We got to make that play. We got to take it to the crib. And for guys like him, I'm always looking for, what his actual next opportunity is going to be, right? This is a guy that was on practice squad last year, and then now he's getting an opportunity. Dude, you take that to the crib, there's going to be some more suitors calling your phone, or the 49ers are going to have to pay you a little bit extra money to keep you around. So he's done terrific jobs since showing up with the 49ers. Watching him in the preseason, he was making plays, a highly energetic guy, and he seems to be a guy that the locker room really likes. And to watch him make that big play, yet again, when the 49ers needed it in a short yardage situation, I loved it.
And to your point about guys in the nickel having to do everything, Chase Lucas also had a quarterback hit in this one. He was doing everything for this team when he was out there on the field. And you brought up the locker room thing, and I think that is so funny, man, because it wasn't that long ago that Demo Lenore and Chase Lucas were ready to chunk it on site kind of thing. Like, they did not like each other. If you remember back to Chase Lucas's time with the Detroit Lions, those two guys got into it pretty publicly. And after the game on the field and all that, and it spilled over into social media drama and all that kind of stuff. And now Diamador Lenore has come out and said several times that he loves Chase Lucas, that might be his favorite guy in the locker room. So it just goes to show you, sometimes your worst enemies become your greatest friends in this type of situation, right? It's for the cross sport comparison, it's like you would hate Draymond Green if he's on any other team but your team, right? Like it's the same kind of thing when you get a fiery guy like that in a sport like this, where it's about a high level of competition and physical and very, very high level of physicality. These guys are warriors, man. And Chase Lucas and Diamador Lenore, when you pair them together, it's a pretty fearsome secondary that the 49ers have got right now. And I mean, I thought the safety play improved a lot. We talk about a unit that did not play very well against the Buccaneers, had a very, very, very bad blown coverage over the top against Baker Mayfield and the Bucs in that one. And you didn't see any of that today, right? Like, you didn't see anyone running free just right down the middle of the seam and taking a 50-yard bomb to the house. You did not see that from the Atlanta Falcons. So, I mean, the solid effort from everybody on this defense, top down, from from in every unit, from Diamador Lenore, from the number 1 starter to Chase Lucas, the number 4 or 5 corner off the bench, and everybody on this team. Like, you even had Curtis Robinson getting some run at linebacker today, big number 59, who's almost exclusively a special teams player. Like, you had everybody contribute to this win in some way. And again, the theme with this one, next man up, like we've been talking about. We got to take a quick break here, but on the other side, we got to get into a little bit more of the injury permutations from this game. Jake Brendel, Renardo Green, a couple other injuries picked up for the 49ers in this one. We hope that maybe they would end up with like a net gain of players at the end of this week rather than a net loss with guys coming back, but looks like you're adding more to the injury report. So we got to talk about that coming up next here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Today's show is sponsored by Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride, with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by four-time Super Bowl champion Dwayne Board and co-host of the Locked On 49ers podcast, Eric Crocker. Today, the 49ers, a big 20-10 victory over the Atlanta Falcons, a game which on Wednesday, Dwayne, myself, and Brian Peacock all said the 49ers had no shot at winning. And lo and behold, this is the same thing we said against the Los Angeles Rams, and the 49ers come out and win. So first of all, I think we all need to just every week just pick the other team. Like, can we just collectively do that to help the 49ers win some games? I'm a big Juju guy, man. Like, before we get into the injury stuff, just kind of curious question. Are you guys, like, I'm a really superstitious guy, man. Like, if I got a spot where I watch the game from, and if things aren't going well, man, I am relocating. Like, I go to a new spot, and I always like got my same snacks, my same drink, my same thing that I do every time. Do you guys have any rituals when you're watching, like, or maybe when you were playing to get ready for games that, like, it's just creature habit kind of thing, or a superstition thing, or what? Like, did you guys have anything like that?
Oh yeah, I did. Hey, I used to wear my. I always had to have my shirt turned inside out the night before the game. I always have to have a burrito. At halftime, I had a hot dog in my locker. And what else did I do? Oh, I had to tape my own hands. I didn't want a trainer taping me, and not at all. Also, my shoes too. I had to put my shoes on myself and never spattered them because I always wanted to feel the ground. And you always have those little things that you did.
What was the burrito? Were you going carnitas? Were you going carne asada? What were you?
Carne asada, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up back east. I didn't know what a damn burrito was until I got to California. And refried beans, I never had a clue what they were. They was pinto beans to me. So so I had to change my lifestyle. But the hot dog, I had to have a hot dog in my locker. And sometimes I would go in the locker and somebody would be and took a bite off my hot dog. It used to piss me off, man. I never found out who it was. But they would bite my hot dog and put it back up in my locker,
Oh man.
Because I never ate pregame meal. So the hot dog was my meal at halftime. So
yeah, you gotta, every time I hear somebody talk about a hot dog during a game, I instantly go back to the Mark Sanchez clip of him trying to really discreetly eat his hot dog on the New York Jets sideline, and the camera catching up just like so. They were getting blown out by like 3 touchdowns, and here's Mark Sanchez
trying to have a hot dog, yeah.
And all of New York just crushing him for it. Like, my guy's just hungry, man. We all gotta eat. Let him have a snack. Come on.
I think people underestimate how long these guys go between eating when you have to play in a sporting event. Some people have trouble eating before games because your nerves and everything, so you're just kind of not hungry, and then several hours later you're in the middle of a game. It's like, dang, I'm kind of hungry right now.
Yeah,
or you need kind of a little energy boost by getting some food. So it's very understandable. For me, I didn't have any big rituals, I would say. Nothing too crazy. The biggest thing for me was that I just kind of wanted to look good on the field. And
look good, play good.
Like, yeah, there was one game I went to and I wore these one cleats and they were just too big. And my entire game was thrown off because I felt like everyone was looking at my cleats like I had clown shoes on. Nobody probably noticed. But for whatever reason, I just felt like everyone was staring at it, and it really threw my entire game off.
That's pretty funny, man. I think it's hilarious how everyone's got these like little creatures of habit type things, and it's in every sport, fan, player, coach, at whatever level. Like everyone's got their little I know for instance, the San Francisco Giants, like all those guys love Uncrustables. Like they eat just an ungodly amount of those, like, those peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that are like for your kids, you know what I mean? But they'll crush like I think I read like 400.
Awful.
Yeah, but I mean, but everyone's got their thing, right? Like in Crocky, you're 100% right. Like a lot of guys, even my max level of football playing was high school, and I know that a lot of guys, like I played with a lot of pukers, like guys who just could not eat anything because they're too busy puking before the game, trying to get the nerves out. I think Josh Allen, I read, pukes before every game. So yeah, it's hard to stay keep those calories coming in, and obviously you're expending a hell of a lot of energy and calories out there on the field. Gotta eat, man. Everybody gotta eat. Apparently, so did whoever was eating Dwayne's hot dog. He needed to get something in there too.
Hey, we had a strong safety one time. He was from the South somewhere. I can't remember where he was from. But before he went out on the field, he would always have to pee on himself. Because he said that's what a fighting dog does.
Oh my! I've heard Mark Schlereth talk about how during the game, instead of maybe taking a play off to go to the bathroom, maybe you just let it happen out there on the field, kind of thing, and it makes guys want to touch you less. So maybe there's something to that.
That's what he would do. It was like, you got to be kidding me, man. How can you do that?
Craziness all over. No, it knows no limitations, man. Like, and that's the point that I'm trying to get at here, right? Like, because we all have these little like weird things that we do, that like these superstitions that we have about our sports teams or ourselves and how we'll play, and or just the vibes that we're putting out there if we're watching to make sure everything is in order, right? And it's so funny how this permeates virtually everything. But for today, the 49ers, they do pick up a couple more injuries. Maybe Renardo Green and Jake Brendel, maybe they just didn't have their pregame rituals locked in today or something. But Jake Brendel goes down with an injury. Let's start there. Matt Hennessy, man, what did you guys think? Do you think that, I saw in the chat, multiple people are saying Matt Hennessy should be the starter going forward. I don't know if you glean that from one game, but I do know that from my perspective, with the way that Matt Hennessy played, if Jake Brendel needs an extra week off, I think Buddy can go ahead and take it, right?
I think it's more so about Jake Brendel than it even is about Matt Hennessy. Watching Jake Brendel multiple times just be on the ground, just getting blown by. That's just not ideal, especially if you're a quarterback. You want whoever's that quarterback, Mac Jones, or Brock Purdy, whoever it is, you need to be comfortable and confident that when I drop back to make this read and throw this ball, I don't have guys falling at my feet because my damn center is getting blown over. So that's something that I feel like at the very least, Hennessy should have at least one more opportunity to get out there and see if he can put it together for an entire game, especially while being part of the game plan.
I agree with you too. I thought he did a decent job when he came in. It wasn't like it was that much of a drop off, and he showed that he's capable of getting it done. And I wouldn't change. I would put him back in and see where it goes from there. Just like Croc said, hey, one more chance from the start.
Yeah, and he I liked the way he looked in the run game. Like I can't express enough how different this run game between the tackles looked today versus every other football game this season. And I think a little bit of that is Don Pooney looking a little bit healthier. I think Connor Colby getting a little bit more experience. All those things are helping. But Matt Hennessy, they were running the ball with Brendel in there before he got hurt. We should make a point to say that. But Hennessy, I thought, really pushed the pile in a lot of situations. He looked really good to me. And again, to Crocky's point, no quicker way to piss off your quarterback. I played some center in my football playing days back in the day, and even at the high school level or earlier, the quickest way to piss off your coach and your quarterback is to allow pressure up the middle. Fastest way to find your way to the bench. So you got to make sure that your center is serviceable. And right now, saying Crocky, you're making me laugh by saying Brendel ended up on the ground is not ideal. I can think of a few other phrases to explain how I feel about that one that we can't say on the show. But man, you got to be sure up the middle with that offensive line, especially with the run game being as important as it is for this football team, you got to be sure up the middle. Now, we're up against it, so let's pivot to Renardo Green. This guy has been so good for the 49ers in the secondary this year. I am a little concerned about this unit going forward if he has to miss some time. But again, the next man up mentality, what we saw from Chase Lucas and others, hopefully Upton Stout won't miss a ton of time and he can come back as well. But Eric Crocker, what are you thinking about if the Giants have to miss some time, or the 49ers have to miss Renardo Green for a little bit of time? How's that going to affect this defense?
You think it would affect them greatly, but the 49ers have just continued to figure out a way to get positive production out of a lot of guys. And it's been next man up. Darrell Luter, we talked about the one play he had, knocking Robinson to the ground, which did not surprise me because Darrell Luter, like, that was a specialty of his when he was at South Alabama, I believe. He wasn't this off coverage guy, but he can kind of play this catch technique, and he was very patient and really good with his hands from there. And you got to see a little taste of it right there. So the 49ers, more of him playing, but please don't have him just out there in space. We saw that was how he got beat before halftime. He needs to be closer to the line of scrimmage where he's able to use his length and get his hands on opposing receivers. That's when you get the best version of Darrell Luter.
And he looked good today, man. And good pull on that South Alabama Jaguars, by the way. That's exactly where that guy went to school. Great pull on that.
Gotta remember, I played against them in college, so.
South Alabama. You know, I think the thing that got him on that was he didn't quite understand the situation. He should have been playing inside technique on him, Brock, I thought. Only give him one way to go. But hey, what do you know? He came from South Alabama. He doesn't know those little things yet. He got to learn them. Whatever you do, don't let the guy get inside of you, okay? Especially when you're playing man-to-man.
Or just make sure he ends up on the ground. That's a pretty good way to make sure.
Yeah, get your hands on it. That's one thing that bugs me about corners. They don't get their hands on the receivers enough. I hate the bail technique. I guess because when I was up in Seattle with Pete, it was a big thing. You know, you had to get your hands on the receiver and not playing bail. Bail to me is like you're really scared.
Well, I mean, those two corners that you had in Seattle during that time were pretty good at playing press coverage, and you had some pretty solid safeties to cover over the top should anyone get by. So
you had the real deal.
Yeah, you did. And the pass rush to go with it all. That was a very fearsome Seattle unit. But if the 49ers have to miss Renardo Green for any point of time this year, I think Crocky, you hit the nail on the head, man. It's been next man up all season long. At this point, you're making a believer out of me, man. I don't see why they can't keep playing next man up type football. It's a team game. And right now the 49ers are playing as a team. And I think they'll continue to talk about not having expectations. I think the one thing that we can kind of expect from this 49er unit is that they're not going to just lay down and die. They're going to keep fighting, play as a team, and keep this game, or keep this team in a lot of close games going forward, even if you don't have your starting quarterback, even if you don't have all-pro Fred in the middle of that defense, even if you don't have former defensive player of the year Nick Bosa pressuring the passer, you still got a group of guys who believe in the guy next to him, and they're making it work. And, you know, shout out this coaching staff for the cohesion that this team has, because I don't think you have that level of cohesion with, you know, if the Jets started to have all these types of injuries. I know they're the Jets and they're probably going to lose a bunch of games anyways, but if they had all these injuries, there's no way in hell that team's rallying, because they don't have, or pick any team that doesn't have this type of a coaching staff with a Kyle Shanahan and a Robert Saleh to guide this team through times like this. And those two guys are proving their worth to the 49ers in these moments. Let's take one last quick break here. On the other side, put a bow on this show, wrap it up, and send you all home nice and happy with another 49ers win, 5-2 after a 20-10 victory over the Atlanta Falcons. We'll be right back here on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I got a hand up, guys. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop betting against the 49ers this year. I told you guys I was going to take those Falcons plus the points. Hey, that was a bad bet, man. That did not hit. So we'll get back in the lab. We'll get something going for you guys next week. And I promise it won't be betting against your 49ers because, man, the 49ers win. You don't want to lose money at the same time. Come on, man. Come on. What a terrible pick by yours truly. I promise I will be better next week. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back to the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, joined by four-time Super Bowl champion Dwayne Board and co-host of the Locked On 49ers podcast, Eric Crocker. And today, the 49ers with a big 20-10 victory over the Falcons to keep pace with the Los Angeles Rams, first place in the NFC West at 5-2. And man, I'm feeling pretty good about this team right now, man. They're starting to get into the part of the schedule where you think that they should be favored to win a lot of these football games, and they're hopefully going to start getting a little bit healthier at some point in time. Maybe they'll get their starting quarterback back at some point, but man, even if they don't, this team has enough juice to keep going, in my opinion. And the defense flying around, the offensive line looks like it's doing enough to get by. At least it did today. The receiving core, hopefully it'll get a little bit healthier, and we'll see guys like Brandon Ayuk and Ricky Pearsall. Otherwise, we'll just keep seeing Kendrick Bourne catching 3rd and 8s for first downs and dancing after he gets back up. I love watching Kendrick Bourne just dancing out there on the field after he gets his first downs. He looks so relaxed, man, and that is the vibe of this football team right now. Everyone looking relaxed, looking like they are just locked into their roles, and it's got to make you feel good about this team, right, Crocky?
No, it definitely does. And I think that's one of the biggest things, right? Like self-belief in the team, in the plan, in the coaches. And right now, regardless of who's on the field, these guys are buying into whatever Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh are selling them. They're doing a terrific job doing that. So watching the way that the 49ers have played throughout this season, it's a very inspired team, regardless of the circumstances and the hand that they've been dealt.
Yeah, and I think that you got to feel pretty damn good about this win today. I mean, the Falcons coming off a big win over the Buffalo Bills in primetime, and the 49ers coming out in a primetime slot of their own and beating up on the Falcons. Next up, Houston Texans. Time for the 49ers to gear up and shift towards that focus. Dwayne, your early feeling about that game against the Texans coming up?
My feeling is don't look at the team you're playing, but look ahead. Look for the moment, okay? When they step into the stadium down in Houston, okay, the barbecue is going to be going. You're going to smell that barbecue, that nice smell, nothing you ever smelled in the state of California, okay? But don't get lured into it. You got to go in hungry and come out full, okay? That's the way I see it for the 49ers. They got to go down in Texas and eat.
And hopefully they do. Hopefully they can make it 6-2 with a win against the Texans next week. For today, that is all the time we got for you guys on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. Fun win by the 49ers today. And it was good to see them get back to what they're good at, right? Defense and running the ball and just controlling the game in its entirety. It felt like from start to finish an old-fashioned 49ers win. It's all the time that we got for you guys today on the Locked On 49ers Squad Show. For my co-hosts, Dwayne Board and Eric Crocker, I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We will see you next time. Thanks so much for joining. Peace.